And I think it's Fethullah Gulen's intent to see Islam without diluting anything which has given Islam its identity, its strengths, its forms of worship, but at the same time seeing it as a world religion amongst other world religions. My name, the one my mother gave me, is Donald Beecher, and I am currently a professor of English literature at Carleton University here in Ottawa. And I specialize in literature from the Renaissance period, that is to say authors around our most famous author, Shakespeare. And not only do I teach Shakespeare theater, but I also teach other literatures of the period in relationship to continental literature, history of ideas. Here I am a little reticent to begin too much philosophical speculation, but Islam is a perplexing phenomenon to the Western world right now because it has so many different elements to it and within it. And I think that it is Fethullah Gulen's vision to present Islam as a religion which is moving into the modern world and is seeing itself on an international basis as a religion amongst religions, which is open to dialogue with other religions and will make a part of its own perspective on the world the global village, the whole entire world in which we live. I'm a little reticent to say from my own perspective that religions traditionally and historically have been tribal. They have been jealous religions. In the Hebrew scriptures, we are told that God is a jealous God and that his peoples must worship only him and only this God. And religions are of this nature. They are self-defining, they are closed, they are garrisons, and they create I-thou relationships in the world. They create us and them. And it is a question of loyalty, of fidelity, of faith, and so on. And so it has only been in the most recent of years that world religions on all fronts, Christianity included, is beginning to look at the world in relationship to they and us, but they as part of us at the same time. That what they aspire to in their fundamental values are similar to the things that we aspire to in our fundamental values, and that there is room now for dialogue between us, rather than this continual establishment of us having the only right God and they having the gods in error. And this is wonderful progress, and this takes vision. And I think it's Fethullah Gulen's intent to see Islam without diluting anything which has given Islam its identity, its strengths, its forms of worship, but at the same time seeing it as a world religion amongst other world religions. Relief organizations have been developed in most of the Western European countries. Certainly the United States and Canada like to see themselves as world players in times of disaster, in times of tsunamis and hurricanes, in times of earthquakes, sicknesses and diseases which afflict various regions of the world. And it is another form of recognition on Fethullah Gulen's part and on the part of the Hizmet movement that in terms of these disasters, we are all part of a single humanity and that we all suffer alike and that we all depend upon each other for relief. And so I think one of the wonderful ideas which has arisen out of the Hizmet movement is the organization known as Kimse Yokmu. And this organization functions on the basis of an internationalism that does not discriminate according to faith, does not discriminate according to nationality or according to beliefs. It simply serves in relationship to need and recognizes that fundamental aspect of disaster zones, that these are human beings who are in need. And this particular movement has developed a great deal of sophistication and has amassed a significant amount of resources which it has disseminated around the world on the basis of need and on the basis of disaster zones. And this is a way of showing not only that the Hizmet movement, but that Turkey in general wants to become a world player in that sort of civic responsibility and humanitarian responsibility that has been manifested by other countries, particularly in the West. So I think that is a remarkable contribution, and I think again revelatory of an international spirit. This, I think, is probably one of the most unassailable aspects of the Hizmet movement. There really is nothing at all that I can imagine anyone from any perspective could conceivably criticize about such relief organizations as the Kimse Yokmu, for example. This is the organization to which you were fundamentally referring, and as a Hizmet movement relief organization which functions in many, many different places around the world in terms of aid to those who are in disaster zones, who are in zones which have been stricken by earthquakes, stricken by tsunamis and hurricanes. And this strikes me as one of the elements of the movement which is amongst the most laudable, that it has viewed the common experiences of humanity in a way that goes beyond politics, goes beyond faiths, and simply sees the common human need and has responded to it in a number of very important material ways through disaster relief with food, with medical supplies, with earthquake equipment that has aided them in finding victims of earthquakes. In fact, on my most recent trip to Istanbul, we were given a tour of the Kimse Yokmu center there, and one of the features of the center was an earthquake simulator. And this simulator was like a large room on a trailer, and you could actually go into this particular space and experience what a number 7 on the Richter scale earthquake was like. You could literally feel it. And you could see all of the displacement of objects all around you. And we all had an opportunity to go up and experience 7-point earthquakes on this wonderful earthquake simulator. And it was a way, of course, of teaching people what it's like to experience one of these disasters and all of the kinds of things that can happen with the movement of articles and things flying around. And these are just some of the ways in which this movement has tried to advance the science of earthquake relief, for example, so that we understand what these phenomena are. And so therefore, this, I think, is really one of the most engaging, one of the most important elements of the Hizmet movement. If something is too good to be true, perhaps it is indeed very good. But the human mind has wonderful capacities for being suspicious, wonderful capacities for inventing conspiracy theories, wonderful capacities for believing that the intentionalities of other minds are being hidden, and that there has to be some kind of secret agenda behind an organization which looks like it is too good to be true. And therefore, there is a tendency to see an organization which is what we call a front organization in English, for really other kinds of activities behind that are hidden and that have a different kind of intentionality behind them. So to say that an organization is really too good to be true, and yet your familiarity as it increases with that organization finds no hidden script, finds no deception, finds no, well, at what point do you finally sit back and say, do you know what? The Hizmet movement is really a good movement. I think it is what it says it is. I think we can believe in it for what it is. As for the internal workings of Hizmet, I'm not in a position to say. Perhaps in Istanbul, they are having difficulty with organizing of trips. Perhaps they're having difficulty in funding things. These are not things that I can speak about with any authority whatsoever. All organizations have their internal difficulties, have their administrative difficulties, have their organizational difficulties. Fethullah Gulen, I believe, began the Hizmet movement with education largely in mind. And it was his particular vision to develop schools and universities which concentrate on education with the modern world in mind and with international connections in mind.
The charitable activities of Hizmet are showing the interconnections between people and promoting the interconnections and promoting the idea of caring for others, which I believe we need in order to continue to exist on this planet.